This is JKL with Jeff Koinange.
And you know, if it's Wednesday, it's all about those three letters on the keyboard that follow each other, JKL. Thanks so much for joining us on this last Wednesday in March. And today we're digging deep into religion and politics. You've been hearing statements coming out from the church saying no more politicians in the pulpit, and contributions will be made silently, and other things as well. That's why on the bench there we've got Archbishop Jackson Olisapit. He is the Archbishop of the Anglican Church of Kenya, ACK. We've got Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome. He is a religious scholar. And we've also got Reverend Dr. Elias Otieno Agola, the National Chairman of the National Council of Churches of Kenya, the NCCK. It's going to be a blockbuster bench today, right, Ayub?
Testing the pulse of the nation through the perspectives of the religious leaders. I mean, they have been under immense pressure, given the pressure on them, the ban by the ACK Church, the same position held by the Catholic Church, and how this fundamentally then is going to be translating into the moral fabric of the Kenyan society.
Nation, absolutely. It's going to be a good show, folks. What do you say? Start tweeting at Koinange Jeff.
At Ayub Abdikadir.
At Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE begins right now. Tonight.
We will welcome him kama shujaa wa taifa letu ya Kenya. Na shangwe na nderemo.
Defiant Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi sacked as President Ruto picks first-time MP Jeffrey Ruku as replacement. Win for government as Court of Appeal stays High Court decision nullifying the new university funding model.
Yale sisi tumefanya, sisema mimi asijaenda kwa Ruto. Yeye alikuja kwetu. Lakini tulisema sisi hatuingii kwa serikali. Lakini mpaka tutatue shida hii ambayo iko hapa sasa.
While blessing the broad base for those who see it that way, I still request them to do what the law says.
Leave the opposition now. Martha Karua tells Raila to formalize broad-based government ties. Give us our money. Drama as job seekers storm unemployment office, demanding refund of their money.
Yulanzale is our sign language interpreter. President William Ruto has dismissed Public Service CS Justin Muturi, replacing him with Geoffrey Ruku, the sole member of parliament from Muturi's Democratic Party. The move follows months of escalating tensions between Ruto and Muturi, which evolved from a quiet power struggle into public war of words. In a dramatic twist, Ruku, who represents Muturi's constituency, was in Muturi's home village preparing for President Ruto's upcoming visit when he received the news of his appointment. Sam Gituku reports on the broader cabinet reshuffle, which will see 2 cabinet secretaries swap roles and 2 fresh faces join the administration.
The tallest member of parliament in the 13th parliament was on the ground with Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki inspecting Kanyombora irrigation water project, which is in the village of outgoing public service CS Justin Muturi.
So mimi niko hapa area nasunguka hiyo Nairobi siendi huku tukipangana na hii wananchi wa Mbeere North tukingojea rais hamu na hamu. We will welcome him kama shujaa wa taifa letu ya Kenya. Na shangwe na nderemo.
It emerged that DP Kindiki deliberately stopped over in Kanyombora to let Ruku in on some major developments. The DP was with Ruku for just about 30 minutes, lifting off after accomplishing the mission. Shortly after 3 p.m., the news broke that Geoffrey Ruku, first-time MP, had been named to replace Justin Muturi as the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Human Capital Development and special programs.
My first reaction, I was not sure whether those are true news, whether that is the case. So I was not aware at all that such a nomination can happen today.
Ruku is the only member of parliament from the Democratic Party, a party that Justin Muturi led to the Kenya Kwanza coalition in the lead-up to the 2022 general election. 2 weeks ago, the party issued notice to Kenya Kwanza Secretariat of intention to leave the coalition. It appears Ruku may well benefit from the coalition agreement before the notice matures. A Bachelor of Commerce graduate with an MBA in Finance, MP Ruku has been vocal since joining the 13th Parliament. He has been behind controversial legislative proposals, including the Assembly and Demonstration Bill 2024, which sought to impose stricter regulations on public protests by granting police greater control. In 2023, Ruku sponsored an anti-corruption amendment bill seeking to decriminalize some of the procurement offences. The bill was described by stakeholders as dangerous and a backward step in the fight against corruption. Ruku was behind the mobilization of Mount Kenya East leaders behind Professor Kithure Kindiki weeks before the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua commenced. During that meeting, the region declared that it was mature enough to chart its own political path without riding behind the larger Mount Kenya region.
Through collaboration and constant dialogue, we are confident that Mount Kenya East will progressively secure a stronger recognition in the national agenda.
An ardent supporter of the current regime who has not shied away from defending it, however controversial it may be, as late as last week.
In Nairobi, we have units which are probably 60%. We saw where the president went.
What does 60% mean? Just to know what you're saying.
60%? It may have different meaning depending on some. Let me say this.
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer. Okay.
Ruku's resilience has paid off, reaping big from his boss, C.S. Muturi's loss, the president.
I will serve the Republic of Kenya in that office with the same dedication and commitment I have served the people of Mbeere North.
The president has also nominated lawyer Hannah Wendot Cheptumo to take up the Ministry of Gender, Culture, the Arts and Heritage that has had no substantive CS since July 2024. Hannah is the widow of the late Senator of Baringo, William Cheptumo, who died mid-February. Hannah's nomination concludes the reconstitution of all 22 ministerial dockets. The gender docket remained vacant after Parliament rejected the nomination of Stella Langat last August. The two nominees will be vetted by Parliament before taking up their roles. At the same time, President Ruto has switched Health Cabinet Secretary Dr. Deborah Baraza with Aden Duale, who departs the Environment, Climate Change and Forestry Ministry after a 7-month stint. Afya House will now have two new top officials, the CS and the Medical Services PS, should PS nominee Dr. Omo Luga be confirmed by Parliament. Sam Gituku, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And on the eve of the latest changes in government, the cracks in the relationship between President William Ruto and his now sacked CS Justin Muturi deepened further when the head of state described his former CS as an incompetent public servant. Dr. Ruto says Muturi's incompetence as Attorney General had delayed the creation of a Muslim endowment fund. And as Brenda Wanga tells us in the following report, Muturi fired back at his former boss, clarifying that the Waqf Act did not have provisions for an endowment fund.
I had a problem with the AG who was there. He was fairly incompetent, but I now have a very competent lady.
President William Ruto, speaking at a Muslim faithful's iftar dinner at State House, berated Justin Muturi as an Attorney General, blaming him for the delay in setting the Muslim Endowment Fund, Waqf, that had been proposed by Muslim leaders. Muturi's response came first through his X page. He points out that the Waqf Act of 2022 has no provision for a Muslim endowment fund. Muturi further explains that a Waqf is a religious, charitable or benevolent endowment by a person who professes Muslim faith and is managed by the Waqf Commission. The The Waqf Act came into force in March of 2022 but is yet to become operational. Muturi maintains that he followed the proper procedure in his attempt to operationalize that act through a series of events. In July 2023, through a Gazette notice, Muturi appointed the Work Commissioner's selection panel and subsequently wrote to the National Treasury and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission seeking a budget for the panel. 9 months later, in April 2024, the selection panel held its first meeting and was sworn into office a month later. On the 11th of June, Muturi advertised for candidates for the position of members of the Waqf Commission. The process of shortlisting the candidates commenced after the deadline of submitting applications.
Today, decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the cabinet secretaries and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, of the Cabinet of Kenya.
Muturi says the sacking of the cabinet halted this process, which he claims has not moved since he left that docket. The Waqf tiff between the president and his now former CS, however, is a continuation of the divergent paths that the head of state and his subordinate have been working for the past few months. The fallout between Ruto and Muturi was born of the abductions and forced disappearances that followed the anti-government protest last year. Muturi's son was one of those abducted by what he termed as state operatives.
I'm calling upon you now to order an end to these abductions, which you promised, killings, extrajudicial killings, and an open inquiry to examine, inquire into how these things have been happening. We cannot make it normal.
Muturi has openly called out the president on what he termed as government's complicity in the abductions that have often ended in deaths and maiming of young Kenyans.
Resignation for me would be an act of cowardice.
Yeah.
I would be, people wonder, what kind of person is this one who sees a problem, doesn't speak about it, and merely walks away? It will look very cowardly on my part.
Wednesday's government reorganization has effectively taken that option away from him as he becomes the latest victim of the anti-establishment purge by the executive. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
The redeployment of senior officials who have been fired has been a trend associated with the Kenya Kwanza administration and changes made by President William Ruto, evoking accusations that the head of state would rather recycle than sack those he even described as incompetent. Our political affairs reporter Emmanuel Toh takes a look at the president's recycling habits.
Like a train, President Ruto's administration comes with compartments. The trend has in the last few months been that of throwing those fired not out of the train but to the next compartment. So is Justin Muturi next in line?
I had a problem with the AG who was there. He was fairly incompetent, but I now have a very competent lady.
On Tuesday night, President Ruto berated Justin Muturi, describing him as incompetent during his term as the Attorney General. The put-down is likely to raise questions why, despite being fairly incompetent, Muturi was still appointed CS in the Ministry of Public Service. And now that he has been dropped from cabinet, will Muturi follow the beaten path of reappointment after being fired? That trend is set. In the government changes made last week, the president moved former ICT Principal Secretary Edward Kisiang'ani to his Bureau of Advisors as a senior advisor and member of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. Previously, it was the former ICT and Digital Economy CS Eliud Owalo and the former Public Service, Performance and Delivery Management CS Moses Kuria that were fired as cabinet secretaries and appointed presidential advisors. When he sent his entire cabinet packing on July 11th last year on the pressure from the Gen Z-led protests, President Ruto had this to say.
Why did you dismiss the whole cabinet? And then you hired some back. Let me answer it this way. It was necessary to have a fresh start. Because as I told the people of Kenya, we're going to have a broad-based government and we're going to have a fresh start.
Nearly half of the members of the dismissed cabinet secretaries were reappointed to cabinet. Some, like former health CS Susan Nakhumicha, only waited a little longer and last week she was nominated as the new Kenyan permanent representative to the UN Habitat in Nairobi. Former Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Karanja, who is now Kenya's ambassador to Brazil, and former Gender CS Aisha Jumwa, was fired and later appointed to the chairperson of the Kenya Roads Board, with the Institution of Engineers of Kenya up in arms over her lack of any background in civil, structural or transport engineering. Former CS for Youth Affairs, Arts and Sports Ababu Namwamba was appointed to the UN Global Leadership Council of Generation Unlimited GENU after his short stint as CS. During the signing of performance contracts at State House Nairobi, President Ruto lamented over the incompetence and cluelessness of some of his CSs and PSs.
Many of you, the people I speak to, don't even know what is going on in your ministries or departments. You have very scanty information. The moment I know more than you in your ministry, then you must begin to understand that something is very wrong. How do you run a ministry or that department or a parastatal if you have no information? That is the highest level of incompetence.
Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Applicants seeking government funding for higher education will receive clarity on the process within the next 14 days after the Court of Appeal reinstated the contentious new funding model. In its ruling on Wednesday, the court overturned a previous decision that had declared the model unconstitutional, directing the Attorney General and the Higher Education Loans Board to publicize the funding framework within the set timeline. Laura Otieno reports on the latest developments.
Over 400,000 university students left in uncertainty following the suspension of the new funding model have been handed a fresh lifeline after the Court of Appeal lifted the freeze on its implementation. In a ruling delivered on Wednesday, the Appellate Court overturned a 2024 High Court decision that had deemed the student-centered funding model discriminatory and unconstitutional. The verdict paves the way for its immediate reinstatement. The court has now directed the Attorney General, the Higher Education Loans Board, and the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service to publicly outline the funding framework. They must ensure that all universities, current and incoming students, and prospective applicants are informed within the next 14 days. In what appeared to be a safeguard for students, the court went a step further, directing the three institutions to inform both current beneficiaries of the funding model and the new applicants that the framework could be subject to change depending on the final outcome of the appeal. This move ensures transparency and prepares students for potential shifts in their financial support as the legal battle unfolds. While filing their appeal, the Universities Fund and the Higher Education Loans Board argue that the ruling invalidating the new funding model had triggered a stalemate in the education sector, making it impossible to disburse payment to students. The Universities Fund defended the student-centered funding model, stating that it provided a more cost-effective and sustainable approach to financing higher education. Launched by President William Ruto in May 2023, the model, dubbed the Variable Scholarship and Loans Funding, categorized students into different bands based on a means testing instrument. Those classified under Band 1 qualify for up to 70% of government scholarships, while students in Bands 4 and 5 receive 40% and 20% respectively. The model was designed to prioritize financial aid for the most vulnerable students while ensuring a fair distribution of resources. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Interviews for the IEBC chairperson position concluded today with the last three candidates facing the panel. Wanjiku Manegene, Robert Akumu and Saul Simiyu told the selection panel that they have what it takes to steer the commission. Here's Stephen Leto with that report.
Interviews for the position of IEBC chairperson came to an end Wednesday, with the selection panel set to continue with interviews for the commissioner's position. Wanjiku Manegene was the first to appear on Wednesday, defending her track record in the medical and legal backgrounds.
As you come into this, I'm wondering why you want to leave such a lucrative industry, healthcare.
As much as I have served Kenya in the health sector, I would want to diversify and be able to give my best also to the electoral sector. And I believe I'm a person of very good integrity. I have very good leadership skills.
What ideals did you learn from Starehe that make you suitable for this position?
Thank you, Chair.
Robert Akumu, who served as Deputy President, Football Kenya Federation, appeared before the panel and was put to task over his conduct in court, where he was reported for assaulting a litigant at the Milimani Law Courts.
In 2022, late November, there was an altercation between you and a person in court.
Yes.
And if there was a boxing contest, I think you won.
Advocates, well, in court, can suffer such occupational hazard, just like sometimes the police also get to suffer such occupational hazard. So, in fact, if there was proper context of media reporting, I was the victim rather than the assailant.
Lawyer Saul Simiu was also hopeful to clinch the IEBC chairmanship slot and told the selection panel that if given a chance, he will streamline the commission and use the remainder of the time to adequately prepare for the 2027 polls. The interviews continue tomorrow for 6th commissioner's slot. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
ODM party leader Raila Odinga has differed with People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua over the broad-based arrangement. The two leaders who are running mates during the 2022 general election met during a funeral in Tharaka Nithi County. Odinga insisting that his party is not in government, while Karua called on him to make the arrangement with President William Ruto legal as a coalition through the registrar of political parties. Here is Emily Chebet with that report.
While attending a funeral for the late Julius Laban, father of Betty Murungi, and father-in-law of Siaya Governor James Orengo, ODM leader Raila Odinga continued with his defense of the broad-based government, saying ODM is still in the opposition.
Uchaguzi uliopita tulikuwa na Martha. Tumezuru naye eneo hii yote kila mahali. Tukitafuta kura. Lakini baadaye yale yalifanyika mnajua. Si mnajua? Hii. Sasa tukasema sasa yale yaliyopita inchi mpaka endelee mbele.
Karua, when she addressed the gathering of mourners, spoke of the broad-based government, telling locals that it was an arrangement that defied the constitution.
The framers of our constitution found it fit to decree that Kenya will be a multi-party democracy, that in parliament there will be a minority side and a majority side. But when you merge, as is happening in the broad-based, you deny people the power to question government from a position of strength.
The People's Liberation Party leader asked Raila to come clean on the arrangement and let the opposition in parliament conduct their constitutional right.
While blessing the broad-based for those who see it that way, I still request them to do what the law says, to enter in political holy matrimony, which is a coalition registered by the registrar of political parties, to let the vital committees sit with parties absolutely not in government, so that we are able to continue having a debate that is healthy for this country.
Bunge yenyewe si ati ya serikali na upinzani. Iko majority and minority. But all of them are oversighting the executive. So you have not gone into executive. Sisi tumesema tuko katika bunge, tuko upinzani. Tuko upinzani, we are oversighting the executive. The whole parliament is oversighting the executive.
Karua saying she had decided to pick the side of Kenyans and will stand firm against the Kenya Kwanza administration.
I firmly remain with the people. And today we must continue questioning government, questioning its policies. We must continue saying no to abductions, saying no to executions, saying no to grand theft of public funds when basic services are suffering.
Even some of us who are in government, we have condemned abductions. We are going to condemn corruption and all those things. Let us condemn all those things and let us support everything, but let us not return this country to tribal divisions. Wakati nikiona Martha Karua akiwa pamoja na wale viongozi wanaendesha ukabila Kenya hii, nasema kweli every sinner has a future.
The leaders were in Chogoria area in Mara constituency, Tharaka Nithi County, for the burial. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Police in Nyamira County have launched investigations into the death of a 22-year-old Chuka University student who died after a brutal caning by his maternal uncles. The late university student, identified as Brian Mogaka, had reportedly been suspended from the varsity due to alleged use of bang. It's alleged his suspension from the university angered his mother, who called on her brothers to discipline the boy, leading to his death.
At the home of the late Brian Mogaka, relatives and friends are huddled in groups, seemingly in discussion of his untimely demise and the mysterious circumstances leading to his death. The third-year university student at Chuka University had allegedly been suspended from the institution of higher learning due to drug abuse. It is said that his mother, Teresa Kemunto, called her brothers to talk to her son, but they tied him up and beat him for hours, resulting in his death. In an attempt to cover up their crime, Mogaka's maternal uncles carried his body to his bedroom and placed pesticide next to him, ostensibly to make it seem like suicide.
Tulipoangalia kwa kitanda, Brian alikuwa amelala kwa kitanda, lakini ukiangalia yeye hapa ni kwa mguu alikuwa amevaa rongi white. Kulikuwa na damu ilikuwa inatoka kwa rongi ikakuja juu hivi, kwa inatiririka. Na tulipomwangalia kwa miguu yake hapa chini hivi alikuwa anaonekana kama amefungwa kamba na mkono bia. Sasa tukajiuliza, na kwa kona hivi kulikuwa na dawa ilikuwa imewekwa kwa kikombe na ingine ilikuwa chini, na kifuniko ya dawa ilikuwa imekuja pande hii, ilikuwa imerushwa kwa hiyo mlango ya ndani kuja chini hivi sasa.
His mother, however, denies that account and maintains that her brothers did not intend to harm her son. Kemunto says the late student took poison and lay in his bed, adding that the family only found out when they went to wake him up for dinner.
Ndio nimetumana hii mtoto mdogo aenda ita Brayo akuja akule. Mtoto akaniambia niliita Brayo amekataa kufungua. Ndani ya nyumba tulipata tu uchi yenye imetapikwa hapo kwa blanketi.
Mimi fira nimekuwa tangu mdogo, sijawahi ona shida yoyote, hajawahi pia mtu yeyote. Hata mamake saizi ameniambia hata akiweka hata 100 kwa nyumba, hajawahi hata siku moja. Lakini sasa tangu last year December ndio alianza kufuta hiyo bank.
The uncles fled the scene after the unfortunate incident. Nyamira North Sub-County Police Commander Elizabeth Wakuloba says police have launched investigations into the matter and are close to making an arrest in the coming days. The body of Brian was taken to Nyamira Teaching and Referral Hospital by the police, who processed the scene on Tuesday night. Mary Moki, Citizen TV.
All right, thanks so much for that, Mary Moki. On that note, we're going to take our first break here on Jeff Koinange Live and remind you our guests today are talking religion and politics.
The men of cloth.
Men of the cloth. We've got Archbishop Jackson Olesapit of the ACK. We've got Sheikh Ibrahim Letome. He's a religious scholar, very outspoken. And we also have the national chairperson of the NCCK, Dr. Elias Otieno Agola. All of them in the house talking about politics and the pulpit. And of course, money on the side. Huh?
Of course, morality question.
Kabisa.
And governance, what happened today.
And let's the state of the nation.
Yeah.
Correct. It's going to be interesting chat.
As well as the ongoing interviews by the IBC selection panel.
Correct. Yeah. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff.
At Ayub Abdikadir.
At
Citizen TV.
Citizen TV Kenya.
That's the aspect of multitasking.
I'm telling you. Yeah. Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.
To soothe irritated and dry skin, Vaseline's healing power is able to penetrate beneath the surface of the skin. This is because Vaseline is made with unique blends of waxes and oils that melt into the spaces between skin cells. This promotes natural moisture regulation to deliver effective skin protection against dryness. Use Vaseline because it is the first step to maintaining natural, healthy-looking skin.
Kila safari huanza na ndoto. Ndoto za kufanikiwa maishani. Ndoto za kufanikiwa kibiashara. Ndoto za kufanikiwa kimaendeleo. For 4 decades, we have been your trusted partner, witnessing the achievements of each generation. As we celebrate 40 years, our promise is to be with you for life. Tufanikishe zaidi.
All right, listen up. Colocate is on a mission. It makes our gums happy and our teeth strong. See? We're moving forward and making changes.
It's kind of a big thing. Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
And we'll leave no smile behind.
Kote nchini mbele tuendelee.
Kenya, twende mbele. NCBA. Go for it.
The Smarter Bundle. Bundle imetosha. 30 GB monthly data. 400 minutes talk time to any network. 100% rudishiwa on Airtel Money transactions, bank to wallet, pay bills, and agent withdrawals. Subscribe to the Smarter Bundle today. Dial *544# or visit My Airtel app. Airtel Smarter Bundle. Browse, chat, call Airtel Money. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Our bodies are sustained by nature's endless gifts. From the food we eat to the air we breathe, the vitamins and minerals strengthen us, helping us glow and thrive. Introducing Vitamin N for nature. Give your skin a daily dose of Vitamin N. Experience Amara Skincare, packed with Vitamin N. Amara, embrace nature.
Get business credit card from Cooperative Bank and pay for business stock and supplies on credit instead of using your own money. You can make payments in Kenya, abroad, and online.
Welcome back. This is JKL and thanks for staying with us. Tonight, tens of victims are speaking out after falling prey to a foreign job scam orchestrated by Truspin Travel Agency. Promised lucrative opportunities in Mauritius, they instead found themselves stranded and deceived. Frustrated and desperate, the victims stormed the agency's offices here in Nairobi, recounting how they were lured with false promises of overseas employment, only to be conned. Some even made the journey to Mauritius, only to be abandoned, left without support and eventually deported back to Kenya. As Franklin Wala tells us in the following report, Truspin Travel Agency's management calls the situation unfortunate and claims that they are working on refunding the affected victims.
Patashika zilishuhudiwa katika afisi za
We apologize for the technical glitch, and moving on to the next story. Stephen Munyaho, aka Steve-O, the Kenyan who faced execution in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is set to return home. The United Democratic Alliance Party Secretary General Hassan Omar said that 129 million Kenya shillings blood money settlement was paid for Steve-O, now Abdul Karim, following a death sentence after a Yemeni colleague he fought with in 2011 succumbed to injuries. Seth Olali with the latest update, including reactions from Steve's Freedom Campaign team here in Kenya.
April 11th, 2025 will mark exactly 14 years since Stephen Munyaho, aka Steve-O, now Abdul Karim, was sentenced to death and imprisoned in Saudi Arabia. Munyaho was jailed after he was involved in a fight with a Yemeni colleague at a warehouse he was working in. In a tragic turn of events, the colleague succumbed to injuries. Munyaho was initially convicted of manslaughter, but the deceased family appealed, resulting in an enhanced death sentence by the sword, with an option of 150 million Kenyan shillings fine.
I knew worse lay ahead, because the spectre that then I have lived with was the spectre of receiving my firstborn's beheaded body.
Steve is a human being. We are all human beings with our frailties. We bring him home. It will be the Kenyan story of victory, however tragic it has been, but there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Munyaho is now set to return home following a 129 million shillings blood money settlement paid for his release.
And the delivery service and aims.
UDA Party Secretary General Hassan Omar, while attending iftar dinner hosted by President William Ruto at State House Nairobi on Tuesday, announced that the Kenyan ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Mohammed Ruwange, and his Saudi counterpart, Khalid Al Salman, had confirmed Munyaho's release.
An ambassador and our ambassador in Saudi Arabia have confirmed that that request has since been honored. The $1 million has been paid, and the Kenyan will return home safe.
Stephen Munyaho, aka Steve-O, now Abdul Karim, was due to be executed in May 2024, but Kenya's Foreign Affairs Ministry at the time said Saudi authorities agreed to suspend the execution pending further negotiations involving not only diplomats but religious leaders.
Commitment of justice and fairness.
The Muslim World League reportedly paid the 129 million shillings. Its religious leader and Secretary General Muhammad Al-Issa attended last year's state iftar dinner and was involved in the talks. The Muslim World League is a Mecca-based international Islamic NGO that promotes what it calls the true message of Islam by advancing moderate values. The Save Steve-O campaign, a support initiative set up by family, friends and media fraternity, through a statement said, if accurate, this information will be an answered prayer for the family and well-wishers supporting the Save Steve-O campaign.
In my mind, as a mother, I thought that if something similar happened and the person that had injured me came to me, I would embrace them.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is currently processing Steve Munyaho's release and travel documents. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
To our earlier story, and tonight, tens of victims are speaking out after falling prey to a foreign job scam orchestrated by Trustpin Travel Agency. Promised lucrative opportunities in Mauritius, they instead found themselves stranded and deceived. Frustrated and desperate, the victims stormed the agency's offices here in Nairobi, recounting how they were lured with false promise of overseas employment, only to be conned. Some even made the journey to Mauritius only to be abandoned, left without support and eventually deported back to their motherland, Kenya. As Franklin Wala tells us in the following report, Trustpin Travel Agency's management has called the situation unfortunate and claims they are working on refunding the affected victims.
Chaos erupted as desperate job seekers stormed the travel agency, accusing it of swindling the millions under the false promise of securing jobs abroad. The victims, furious and determined, claimed they had been conned. In their numbers, the enraged crowd made their frustration known, unwilling to listen to any explanation. With unrelenting zeal, they forced their way into the offices of Trustpin Travel Agency along Moi Avenue, Nairobi, demanding an immediate refund of their hard-earned money.
Kwa watu wengi na kanti tofauti, kila mtu analia pesa tofauti. Yoyote nimepoteza yenye imelipwa ni 185,000. Nikiongeza na hii 22 ya return ticket juu yeye ndiye alinicost ni ilipe ya juu itafika 200.
Na nililipa first downstone mail nililipa 80,000 plus 145,000 za flight. Na mimi ni dereva na bado naweza fanya kazi ya caregiving. Sasa director alituambia yeye yuko Mauritius, kuna kazi ziko tayari. Ukienda kazi utapata, anza na kazi yenye iko tayari.
The scene was charged, emotions running high as the betrayed job seekers took matters into their own hands. The victims revealed that they discovered the travel agency through an online platform where its director heavily advertised job opportunities abroad for unemployed Kenyans. Hopeful for a better future, they walked into the agency armed with documents and substantial sums of money. They met Director Mary Kamunge and were instructed to pay between 200,000 shillings and 400,000 shillings for airfare, agency fees and other costs. Some took loans, others sold property only to realize they had fallen into a devastating scam.
Nilikuwa nimepata hapa kazi ya kwenda Mauritius, nikalipa 193,800,000, but hiyo kazi haikukuweko.
Some victims made it to Mauritius only to find themselves stranded at the airport. After days without food or support, they were deported back to Kenya, forced to face the harsh reality of their shattered dreams.
Vile tulikaa hapo 3 days wakatuambia lazima mungoje ndege iliwaleta. Ikikuja ndio mrudishe Kenya, unaona? Lakini hakuna chakula tulikuwa tunapewa.
Nikampatia 423,000 Kenyan shillings ili aende kupata kazi Mauritius. Lakini wakati alifika Mauritius, aliambiwa haizi ingia kwa sababu alikuwa ametengenezewa documents ya tourist visa.
Desperate for justice, today's move was their last hope in exposing the latest job scam. They claim to have reported the matter to Central Police Station in Nairobi, but little action was taken.
I'm ready to give them back. But sasa hawataka.
Meanwhile, Trustpin Travel Agency Director, through her lawyer, insists plans are underway to refund victims, though deductions will be made for expenses the company allegedly incurred during the process.
The agreement we had with them is that some amount have already been used by the agency to cover expenses, which will have to be deducted. But eventually, some of the money will have to be refunded back to the parties who are aggrieved.
The desperate voices from affected victims in this story paint a picture of what majority of Kenyans go through. Even as police insist they are investigating this case, the question is, for how long will jobless Kenyans go through such? Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
A case of a predator and prey, but many answers are still lacking. Parents of Canon Apollo Primary School in Mbotela, Nairobi County, are protesting what they claim is an unauthorized takeover of the school's playground. During a tense meeting, they opposed a contractor's plan to build a perimeter wall around a field currently being developed with basketball, netball and volleyball courts alongside a modern soccer pitch. The parents argue that the wall around is separate, which separates the school from the facility. However, Makongeni, member of County Assembly Peter Imwatok, has dismissed land-grabbing allegations, insisting that the Ward Development Fund-backed project aims to benefit both the school and the local community.
Outside Canon Apollo Primary School in Mbotela, Makongeni, Nairobi County, tension lingers as parents gather in small groups, reflecting on a heated meeting held inside the school. At the heart of the dispute is a project initially designed to benefit both the pupils and the surrounding community, now a source of contention. It all began 6 months ago with the construction of a modern soccer field, complete with a turf. Soon after, Additional developments followed, including the ongoing construction of spectator stands, changing rooms, and washrooms to enhance accessibility to the facility. However, tensions arose when soil excavation began for a perimeter wall, one separating nearby homes from the school and another dividing classrooms from the pitch. Adding to the controversy, pupils will have to use a gate to access the field. Concerns over the project's impact led the school management to call an urgent meeting with parents on Wednesday.
Sasa question ni, wanataka kuweka perimeter wall and a different gate. We want to understand, are the parents involved? Do they know? Is the community known? Was vetting done? Because there is nothing written documents ya kuprove to parents ya kwamba kumekuwa na certain meetings zenye zime end up to this project being installed.
Our concern is kutaka kujua huu uwanja ni wa shule ama ni private field. Na kama itakuwa ni private field, watoto wetu wataishi aje bila ya uwanja, kwa sababu watoto ni wa kucheza kwa sana.
Bodi haijahusishwa kwa hizi vitu zote zile zinaendelea. Hiyo ni kitu wazazi mnafaa mkuwe mkijua. Sawa sawa. Hatujaikaa chini na yule mtu anafandi hii kitu.
During the tense meeting, police officers from Makongeni police station were deployed to prevent clashes between parents and community members backing the project. Supporters argue the development will benefit both pupils and the wider community.
Tukoona katikati ya shule na kiwanja kuna kuanganio jamii watu kuingia shule ovyo ovyo. Tukasema kama tunaweza kuweka perimeter wall, ndio saa zile shughuli ya shule inaendelea, watu wako naingililia huko, wanafanya mambo yao kwa kiwanja, wanatokea huko. Na hakuna mtu amesema hii kiwanja ikijengwa watoto wetu watachezea hapa. Watoto lazima pia enjoy hii kiwanja. Lakini lazima kuwe na mkakati ya shule, na sisi ndio community spigani na shule.
Makongeni MCA Peter Imwatok dismissed claims that the playing field had been grabbed, confirming the project is funded under the Ward Development Fund. He emphasized that the initiative was driven by community demand for modern sports facilities, including soccer, basketball, netball, and volleyball courts. Imwatok clarified that the perimeter wall is intended to secure the field, not to alienate the school.
Hakuna uwanja imegrabiwa hata inchi. We are just securing uwanja kutoka kwa private entity kwa public entity. Na ile wizi ule contractor amekuwa hapa ameibiwa kila siku, anaruka kwa fence wakiingia. Na tumesema lazima tu secure hiyo place. Hata is part of securing shule. Shule imengangana na wizi kwa hiyo shule, kwa hiyo area kila siku. Tutaweka hiyo perimeter wall pande ya paiko na perimeter ya public, tuweke perimeter wall na tuweke electric fence round. Ndio hiyo uwanja ikuwe secure hata mkicheza usiku.
The MCA insists the school management has been involved in the project from the start. Meanwhile, police have halted all construction at the field until all concerns are addressed and pupils' safety is guaranteed. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Across the borders, an intensive search and rescue operation is currently underway in Haiti to locate a Kenyan police officer reported missing while on duty on Tuesday. The disappearance of the Kenyan policeman serving under the Kenyan-led multinational security support mission took place during an attack by gang members in Pontesonde area. According to the authorities, the search will yield results, as Seth Olale now tells us in the following report.
According to the spokesperson of the Multinational Security Support Mission in Haiti, Jack Ombaka, the incident happened at approximately 16:30 hours on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, along the Carrefour-Paes-Vienne main supply route in the Port Horn area. A H&M armored vehicle on patrol got stuck in a ditch suspected to have been deliberately dug by Haitian gangs along the route. MSS says it responded by dispatching 2 mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles from Ponson to assist in the recovery. However, one of the MRAPs also got stuck, while the other developed a mechanical issue during the recovery operation. The officers were attacked by gang members, leading to the disappearance of the unidentified Kenyan police officer. The Multinational Security Support Mission has in the meantime deployed specialized teams to conduct a search and rescue operation to determine his whereabouts. Responding to the ambush, the National Police Service has stated that it commends the national police officers in Haiti who remain committed to fulfilling the mandate of the Multinational Security Support Mission. A statement from State House Nairobi also revealed that President William Ruto, in a telephone conversation with United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Tuesday, discussed the situation in Haiti. President Ruto reaffirmed the strong U.S. support for the Kenya-led effort to stabilize Haiti, welcoming U.S. support for the effort to secure sustainable UN support for the Multinational Security Support Mission. Another Kenyan police officer, Samuel Tompoi Kaitwai, died while receiving treatment in Haiti in February 2025. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
All right, we cross over to the bench, and Jeff is with the three esteemed panel who have graced the show this evening here on JKL to test the pulse of the nation.
That's right, Ayub. A very powerful panel here. We've got Archbishop Jackson Sepit. He is the Archbishop of the Anglican Church of Kenya, ACK. Right next to him is outspoken Muslim scholar Sheikh Ibrahim Letome. And right next to me is the national chairman of the National Council of Churches of Kenya, Reverend Dr. Elias Otieno Agola. Gentlemen, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Jeff.
Very good. Thank you. So listen, we're going to get to, there's a lot of ground to cover this evening. We're going to be talking about politics in the pulpit. We're going to be talking about all issues, including state of the nation and the mini reshuffle that happened today. But before that, let me ask you all this question. A couple of weeks ago, former IBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati passed away. Online, there was massive celebration. Kenyans were celebrating the death of this man. 24 hours ago, the son of Dagoretti North Member of Parliament, Beatrice Alachi, died. Again, online, there was celebration. The question I'm asking you all is, and I'll start with you, Archbishop, have we lost our humanity?
I think, Jeff, it is very sad to find ourselves in a situation that when a life is lost, in whichever way we have viewed that life, it is never celebrated. And I don't think we have any reason to celebrate anybody's death under any circumstances. You know, it's not only that. Recently, when there was a loss of the AUC chairmanship, there was a lot of celebration. Yeah. I think this is communicating something. Maybe there are underlying hidden anger that is being manifested in that kind of a manner, which is, I can say, it should not be the case. But I think we need to address why are Kenyans angry about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Jeff, very unfortunate. It's a very sad state of affairs that we celebrate death, being very insensitive to the relatives of that person. It's very unfortunate. Because, Jeff, if I go back to the teachings in religion, you're told when a person passes on, then you don't even need to talk about their bad deeds. It's between him and God. Actually, what you should do, you should be sensitive to the relatives, the people close to him, condole with them. The rest, you leave it to God. But unfortunately, Jeff, we are in a situation whereby I think Kenyans are angry, like the Archbishop said here, because I think what we are seeing is these are the symptoms, and we need to look deep into ourselves. What is the underlying root cause of all this? Because at this rate, Jeff, I don't think we're going to have a country. Where is the patriotism? And I think even some foreigners were asking me the other day when the former Prime Minister lost his seat, regardless of which side of the political divide you are in, he's a Kenyan. We need to be patriotic. A football match between our country, Harambee Stars, and a foreign country. I'm sure those people went back surprised, what is wrong with these Kenyans here? We are in a football match here, and they're shouting down their president. Something is terribly wrong. Jeff, you always tell us it's time to talk with each other. Yeah. The moment we stop talking to each other, we start fighting. Correct. That's a problem.
Reverend Doctor.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that we can degrade ourselves to that kind of an action where we think that the loss for somebody else should be celebrated by another person. And that clearly depicts that we have eroded our values and our humanness, the humanity, the creation that God created has become an enemy to another creation, and no feelings at all. In fact, the most expensive water is the tears, because it expresses the feelings that somebody has. So when we are not able to see the other person's loss as loss, and we begin celebrating it, we are unconscious that some things may not go right on the other side, and that may cause a lot of trouble and enmity, and no wonder we carry our ethnic, our ethnic feelings to the effect that we are not even willing to feel the way the other person feels and know what the other person feels. The other day, the deputy president, the former, was in a mess with the other, the party. And what happened? Something happened to him. He was dropped, and everybody who was against him was there to say, yes, he should be impeached, something is wrong with him, and what have you. And some portion of Kenyans decided to celebrate. That was wrong, and celebrating any loss is not right at all. Mm. Thank you.
It is clear the moral fabric of this country is being ripped apart.
Sure.
As we're watching. Mm-hmm. And that's a dangerous road. Mm-hmm. Dangerous road. Gentlemen, I'm going to take a break, come back. We're going to do some business and sports with Ayub in a little short while, and then come back and get into our discussion. Politics and the pulpit. Where do we go from here? Keep tweeting at KoinangaJF, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back in a moment. In the meantime, coming up. Coming up, we cannot balance our budget now. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi admits, as he indicates heavier local borrowing in the medium term.
Brother, chekini story fulani la penjuzi mtani record manze.
Lakini bro, kazi itakuwa tu ni kujaza simu na hizi mavida.
Ai, kujinice tu kaka. Mwananchi ndani ya narada imedalia pesa.
Leta tenje ni kushovile tutaomoka. Citizen Digital wako na platform fulani kwa site yao inaitwa Wananchi Reporting. Hapa unaweza tuma story yako kwa website yao ama kwa app yao ya Citizen Digital. Na kama hiyo process ni ngumu, unaweza tuma story kwa email yao, WhatsApp number ama uitumie kama SMS.
Alafu gani napataje bro?
After story yako imepublishiwa, hapo ndo una receive 1000 kwa simu yako.
Bro, au umenichanua.
Don't just witness the news, be part of breaking it. Download the Citizen Digital app and share your story with Wananchi Reporting today. Citizen Digital.
Cash hapa. Kugrow investment inaweza kuwa kama learning a new language. But kwa ground, vitu ni rahisi. Kwanza sahi na Zidi Money Market Fund, hakuna kizungumkuti. It's a straightforward way to grow your money, kutimiza goals zako kama kufund hustle yako, kulipia watoi fee, or maybe saving up for a dream asset. Or a special day. Zidi Money Market Fund is the simple way of investing. No games, no gimmicks, just smart, Simple investing. So tap in and start making money moves today. Your future self will thank you.
Grow your money daily with ZD Money Market Fund, powered by M-Pesa. Opt in on your M-Pesa app or dial *334# today. Terms and conditions apply.
ZD to ZD.
My flavor fruity. My flavor slaps.
Mirinda, flavor so good it slaps. Enjoy the flavorlicious, refreshing taste of Mirinda Green Apple. Mirinda, flavor so good it slaps.
Sasa?
Wasan.
Ile stick ya zero sugar ni nini?
Would you club zero? Hebu ni kushow.
Festive seeded bread, zero added sugar, high in fiber and protein.
Mkate zero sugar.
Soma lebo.
Sasa mama Tosh, wewe uko club zero? Nikose nitekwe. Aya, nipe mbili, moja ya babu, ingine ya shosho. Shosh. Mkate ya club zero, imagine.
Festive Zero and Festive Wholemeal, zero added sugar and reduced salt.
Napenda. Asante sana mwanangu. Na hii Festive Wholemeal ni yako babu. Imepunguzwa chumvi, soma lebo.
This is very good. Hii mkate ya heritage ina chumvi nyingi, alafu ni
Karibuni Club Zero.
Carefully read the food label before consuming your products. The balanced recipe with reduced salt and zero added sugar is good for you and your family.
At Amaco Insurance, we ensure safe journeys by protecting public vehicles and the lives on board. With every policy, we provide full coverage for peace of mind on every ride. Your trust makes us the #1 choice for PSV insurance. We also insure private and commercial vehicles, businesses, livestock, homes, schools, and more. Visit us today and let's plan your insurance together.
This is me at Stanbic Private Banking. What does it feel like? It's living a rich financial legacy for my family. It's more than banking. It's investing skillfully. It's planning wisely. It's living joyfully. It's banking easily. It's me walking boldly into my future. Start your journey. Visit www.stanbic.co.ke. Stanbic Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Dreaming of a strong, stylish and reliable roof for your home? Look no further than Heritage Mabati Mills. We provide durable, elegant and affordable roofing solutions designed just for you. We have unbeatable discounts, flexible payment plans including Lipa Pole Pole for easy installments, fast and free delivery across Kenya within 72 hours. Call us on 0746 667 456 or visit us Thika Road, Exit 13. Heritage Mabati Mills, the proof is on the roof.
Kila safari huanza na ndoto. Ndoto za kufanikiwa maishani. Ndoto za kufanikiwa kibiashara. Ndoto za kufanikiwa kimaendeleo. For 4 decades, we have been your trusted partner, witnessing the achievements of each generation. As we celebrate 40 years, our promise is to be with you for life. Tufanikishe zaidi.
Welcome to Sensei Institute of Technology, your gateway to hands-on technical skills. From mechanics and electronics to construction, ICT and more. Our ever-growing facilities reflect our unwavering commitment to building a better tomorrow for you. With immersive practical training and top-tier equipment, we ensure real-world readiness and a secure future. Sensei, the home of great practical skills. Join us today.
Cooking kuku for the whole family doesn't need to be tricky anymore. With Kikoman,
Making delicious Kikoman stew kuku is fast and simple. Kuku stew ikiwa tamu, get together ni fiti. Kweli, kuku ni kuu na Kikoman.
I don't want to make any mistakes. I need you to help me.
How so?
I left you alone to protect you, but now I realize I was wrong, and I'm sorry about it.
Easter happiness all around! Win big with the WRC Safari Rally 2025. Revisha and feel the roar!
Welcome back, and it's time for business. The government has abandoned the 9th review of the International Monetary Fund program, which is set to lapse on the 1st of April this year. According to National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi, the time frame before the program comes to an end is not sufficient to complete the review. The government has instead opted for a fresh program with the IMF. However, according to economic analysts, the conclusion of the IMF program now means that in the next financial year, the government will be forced to rely on domestic debt to sustain itself. Here's Jimmy Mbogo.
We can contain the fiscal deficits. Not only contain, but continue to the fiscal consolidation that the Treasury has been, has been talking about. We will not be able to achieve the kind of low, stable interest rates that are required to really empower and drive economic growth.
Barely a day after the Central Bank Governor Kamau Thuge called on the National Treasury to address the government's credit appetite, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi now says this may be a tall order.
Well, we must live with the reality, and the PS mentioned it. External financing is becoming scarce. It is not an option. You know, if we have options of getting that money, then we can engage into a debate. We don't have that option. Number one, you can see what the US has said, and that is going to impact not just the US loans. I mean the US support, because actually the US was not supporting our budget directly. It is going to impact even any support that we have been getting from Europe.
Treasury further says it is impossible to balance the country's budget under the current fiscal circumstances. According to CS Mbadi, in the medium-term debt strategy, Treasury intends to reduce the debt cost and risk by sourcing 25% of gross borrowing from external sources and 75% from domestic sources over the medium term.
We cannot stop borrowing. It is a lie if we start saying, and Chris there, I want to disagree with you, we cannot balance our budget now. If you balance your budget now, you will not offer services to the people. And no one will accept to pay taxes if they are not receiving services.
Our aspiration is a balanced budget, but we know it's not possible to have a balanced budget. But we have to reduce the deficit. That's why we have moved from 8.1% of GDP in 2021 all the way to 4.9 this financial year, and we are looking at up to 2.7 over the medium term.
In an effort to defend the country's debt level, Treasury notes that the country's debt to GDP level, although higher than recommended, it remains sustainable, blaming negative rating on concentrated maturities. Jamie Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
PFM ultimately.
National carrier Kenya Airways has posted a full year profit of 5.4 billion Kenya shillings for the year ending 2024. This profit, a dramatic recovery from the previous year where the airline made a loss of over 22 billion Kenya shillings. The jump in the profitability was on account of forex gains coupled with an increase in total revenues. Here is Wamboi Wangoi with the details of that report.
Kenya Airways had a remarkable year in 2024 to close with a profit of 5.4 billion shillings. In 2023, the company made a loss of 22.6 billion shillings. The airline last posted a full-year profit over 10 years ago.
Under the circumstances, what we've achieved, what the team has achieved is fantastic. And I hope that in your in your newspapers, in your columns, in your editorials, that you reflect that to your readers.
A key driver of KQ's performance was a strengthening of the shilling, resulting in forex gains of 10.5 billion shillings, a sharp turnaround from the 15 billion forex loss recorded in 2023 at the height of the shilling's depreciation. The airline's operating profit rose to 16.6 billion shillings, up from 10.5 in 2023. Total revenue increased by 6% to 188.4 billion from 178.4 in 2023. This because KQ ferried 5.2 million passengers, up from 5 million in 2023, thanks to the addition of 3 new destinations including Mogadishu, Eldoret and Maputo. Cargo operations also saw significant growth, with volumes rising by 25% from about 56,000 tons to over 70,000 following the acquisition of 2 additional cargo aircrafts. Despite this improved performance, the airline remains in a negative equity position, reflecting the impact of its past losses.
Obviously, at this stage, we will not be able to pay dividend. We still have negative equity. We need to, all the money that we have, to reinvest in the business for growth so that the airline can have a sustainable performance going forward.
To better position itself for growth, the airline now wants the government to improve airport infrastructure at JKIA.
We just need to find a way to improve the airport facilities, to grow the airport facilities, because if you look at the numbers that Alan is projecting, just alone for Kenya Airways, we will be hard-pressed to handle these passenger numbers in the current carrying capacity of this airport. Many people have complained about them. We need some attention paid to them, because every time there's a rain, it leaks, everybody throws stones at everybody else, but we don't get it fixed on a long-term basis. So a lot of attention needs to be given to get the airport in a better state than what it is to now.
Wambui Wangui, Citizen TV.
NCBA Group has posted a 21.9 billion shillings net profit for 2024, a 2% increase from the previous year. The bank also crossed the 1 trillion shillings mark in digital loan disbursement. Despite a drop in customer deposits and assets, strong regional and non-banking growth boosted the lender's performance, as Wambui again tells us in the following report.
In the period under review, the lender's operating income dipped by 1.5% to 62.7 billion shillings. Operating expenses fell to 37.6 billion from 38.2 in 2023. This dip in operating expenses was occasioned by the bank's lowering of credit loss provisions by 40% to 5.5 billion shillings. Customer deposits dropped by 13% to 502 billion shillings, while total assets fell by 9.3% to 666 billion shillings. NCBA's subsidiaries in Uganda, Tanzania and Rwanda made 3.2 billion shillings in profit, an upswing of 7%. Non-banking services like leasing and bancassurance grew by 36%, adding 1.2 billion shillings to the lender's earnings. NCBA declared a dividend of 3 shillings and 25 cents as final dividend, bringing the total payout for 2024 to 5 shillings and 50 cents per share. Wambui Wangui, Citizen TV.
Smallholder coffee farmers in Kericho County are embracing circular agriculture by utilizing biochar to enhance soil fertility and boost production. This innovative approach is transforming coffee farming, according to the farmers in the region, by making better use of agricultural waste while also promoting sustainable practices, according to the farmers. Dennis Otieno visited Kericho County to explore these developments in this week's edition of Smart Farm.
Kipkelion West constituency, Kericho County. Coffee farms are thriving with vibrant berries nearing harvest. For Wesley Kosgei, a smallholder coffee farmer, the journey begins at the nursery. He is among the farmers who have adopted biochar for both raising coffee seedlings and cultivating mature crops after experiencing challenges with conventional farming methods.
Hapo awali wakati tulikuwa tunatengeneza seeds from nursery. Tulikuwa tuna mix mchanga na manure yenye imeiva. And then we had DAP kidogo. Tunaweka kwa nursery. Hapo tulikuwa tunapata wakati mkulima ameenda kupanda. Unapata kuna ugumu kwa mchanga kwa polybag. Na hapo ulikuwa unapata wakulima wengi nasema mbegu yangu haikumea yote, ingine liharibika.
Ya kwanza kwa organic faida yake iko na maji, iko na kind of expansion ya coffee kind of berries. Iko na expansion yake, sio kama ile ya organic. Na hata ukiona matawi yake iko tofauti na ingine. Kana miti ni green throughout. Hata wakati kuna kiangazi kidogo unapata iko sawa.
Biochar is a carbon-rich material produced through pyrolysis, a controlled burning process in low oxygen conditions of organic waste. In Kericho, rice husks, a byproduct of rice milling, are being converted into biochar. This process not only reduces waste, but also provides a valuable soil amendment that improves soil health and productivity.
A biochar is a sort of organic fertilizer which have been embraced due to its unique characteristics of holding water and also adding nutrients as compared to the inorganic fertilizer. They have no side effects because they don't increase the soil acidity, and also it maintains its natural nature.
Beyond improving soil quality, biochar has led to increased yields, with farmers like Wesley observing remarkable improvements in their coffee plantations.
Kwa hii yenye tulitumia biochar, unapata 100%, 75%, unapata leaf zao ni kubwa. Alafu yenye tumetumia 25 to 0, unapata leaf zao ni kidogo. Icha increase kwa size.
This biochar, when imbibed properly into the systems of the plant, it adds into the aroma of the processed coffee at the factory level, which now fetches better market in the international market. And then the third option, we've realized that when mature coffee is treated with biochar, there is probability of having larger berries, what we call the huge jumbo cherry. Therefore, it has been realized that the farmer would get much more in terms of kilos when it comes to the times of payment and marketing of the same product.
Kilimo Trust, a non-profit organization, has partnered with other stakeholders to promote biochar use among smallholder farmers. By providing training, technical support, and resources, the initiative is helping farmers integrate biochar into their farming systems, advancing circular agriculture. Despite its challenges, farmers like Wesley reckon that biochar presents an opportunity to improve their agricultural productivity, as well as address pressing issues like climate change and waste management. Dennis Otieno, Smart Farm.
Time for sports. The national sevens rugby team Shujaa will focus on a game at a time as they try to improve on their ranking in the World Sevens Rugby Series. The team currently in Hong Kong, where they will take on Spain, France and Great Britain in a pool C at the new Kai Tak Stadium. Here is our sports editor Michael Kenyo with the details of that report.
The past 2 weeks have been intense for the national sevens team Shujaa ahead of the next leg of the series in Hong Kong and Singapore. Coach Kevin Bling Wambua says they had a lethargic start to this block of training due to players turning out for their clubs in the Enterprise Cup matches. The last week of training was for loading and polishing up on the systems in attack and also defense.
We only control what we can control, and for us is how we play. Our focus at the moment is purely on Spain.
Yes, we know we still have Great Britain in our pool, which we'll play later on, and France also in our pool, but our collective focus is on Spain, which is our first game.
A win against Spain in the first match will be a big boost for Shujaa against a very tough opponent. In the opening 5 legs of the series, Shujaa has been losing matches by small margins, and Coach Wambua says this is because of the rebuilding process.
Something that will not happen overnight, but it's something we're really working hard, just having better control of the game, and also just making sure that our boys have that top level of game understanding that's required to play at the topmost level.
Key in their training sessions has been recreating game scenarios, as the new format of the series is tough with only 12 teams. The coach was keen to bring back some players to add some experience for the 2 tournaments that are massive for them in the series.
We really wanted to see if we can incorporate John Okoth in these last 2 legs, in this Hong Kong and Singapore legs, but we feel that he's not really fit enough. He needs to play more matches locally before we put him up in the series.
Wambua believes he picked the best team for the task ahead, making very minimal changes from the team that played in the last leg. Some of the changes are forced by injuries.
We just want to make sure that we are consistent, and consistency also comes with the squad. So we are naming a consistent squad. I think there's only going to be one change. Fesa Shiasi coming in for Jackson Siketi, but the overall squad stays intact.
The Hong Kong tournament kicks off on Friday and ends on Sunday. Michael Kinyi for Citizen TV.
The Africa Cup of Nations Under-20 Championship has been thrown in limbo after Ivory Coast withdrew as host 3 weeks to the event. The decision has thrown the Confederation of African Football CAF into a spin as they shop for a new host. The announcement by Ivory Coast comes at a time when the national under-20 team was already in camp for 1 week in preparation for the continental showpiece. Despite the tournament setback, Kenya under-20 coach Salim Babu says the boys are ready, as each and every one of them wants to play at AFCON. Only 5 players based outside the country are yet to report to the camp. Babu and his team are targeting 2 wins in the first 2 matches to guarantee a quarter-final berth where there will be minimum target. Kenya is in a tricky pool together with favourites Senegal, Sierra Leone and Zambia.
Mimi kwangu nimeona tuko group ile, pia sisi wenyewe tukifanya vitu zetu vile zinatakana itakuwa rahisi, kwa sababu si eti ni ngumu na si pia rahisi vile watu wanadhania. Ni watu watie bidii na tuko na plan tu yetu. Tukienda huko lazima tuko na plan, kwa sababu tunaenda tunajua nini tunatafuta.
Ukiona sisi under 20 tumekuwa tukiperform poa. We have been in a good form, and ukiangalia mostly ni wale player tumejel nao kuanzia kwa ile under 18 2023, now we are 2025. That means tunaelewana poa. We are not just going there to participate in that group, hatuendi trip. As tunaenda, we are going for the title, na hiyo ni kitu watu wanafaa kujua.
Kenya now has 2 gold medals after 5,000-meter championship. Francis Kipkoech Bowen won a second gold in the 3,000 meters category at the World Athletics Masters Indoor Championship in Florida, the United States. With the athletes rank on from time, the 2 races in that category, Bowen led from the gun to tap to win in a time of 8 minutes 36 seconds. A new Masters record in the category, Gregory Michel from the United States won silver after finishing a distant second, almost a minute behind Bowen. The bronze went to Frenchman Santiago de la Fuente Martin. In another race, Ibrahim Mokonjo Muya won the silver for Kenya in the 60 meters dash and M40 category.
Ilibidi nianze na kazi kwa sababu kulikuwa na kikundi walikuwa wamekimbia mwanzoni. Sasa walikuwa naona time, walikuwa naenda na saa. Na kwa Masters hakuna pacemaker, sasa unapambana peke yako na hali yako.
The qualifications of the 2026 World Cup will be having a story on Iran as they qualified for the edition that will be played in the United States of America, Mexico and in Canada. A group of Kenyan bikers is now in Botown in Sierra Leone, their country number 21 in their ride around Africa to raise funds for education. The journey that started in December 2024 has seen them cover an average of 400 kilometers a day in the exciting journey. In the last week, they rode from Ghana to Ivory Coast, Liberia, and now Sierra Leone. Challenges have been immense, including bikes breaking down, harsh weather conditions, and off-road riding. In most of the other countries, they met bikers who acted as guides and escorts. In between the rides, they take short breaks. The journey is expected to continue for another 2 months before they get back home. So Iran is the team that had qualified for the World Cup next edition.